Something's not sitting right today, Cowboys Nation. Something deeper than just another off-season headline. Something heavier than a routine arrest or a minor news flash. Because what happened early this morning doesn't just echo off the walls of Allen, Texas. It reverberates through the walls of the Star. It shakes the foundation of a locker room preparing for what was supposed to be a breakthrough year. It raises questions that start as whispers but are quickly turning into roars. And I'll be honest with y'all, I almost didn't make this video. I sat with it, I debated, I paced around thinking maybe I'd let someone else break it, maybe I'd wait for the dust to settle. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this isn't just a story. This is the story. Because this morning, one of our starters, one of our lightning bolts in cleats, Kevontae Turpin, the electric kick returner, the guy with wheels so fast he looks like a glitch in the Matrix, got arrested, not yesterday, not last week, this morning, and the charges? Possession of marijuana under 2 ounces and unlawful carrying of a weapon, and while some folks might shrug that off, just another athlete caught slipping. I'm here to tell you, this is not just a footnote in the off-season, this is the test. The one that will show us everything about who the Cowboys are right now, from top to bottom, from Jerry to McCarthy to Schottenheimer, and every player watching from the shadows wondering what the fallout will be. Will there be consequences? Will there be spin control? Or will this quietly disappear like so many headlines have in the past, buried by the next practice report or highlight clip? But here's the thing. You can't bury this, not when it's Turpin, not when it's a guy who was finally being talked about as more than a return specialist, a guy Schottenheimer was planning to unlock in the offense, a gadget player turning into a legitimate weapon. And now he's locked up in Allen, Texas, still in jail as we speak. And when I say Allen, y'all, I'm not talking about some shady neighborhood with a high crime rate. I'm talking about Allen, one of the most polished, golf course-wrapped suburban bubbles in North Texas, where the loudest thing you usually hear at 6 a.m. is someone jogging with their golden retriever. And yet, here's Turpin, allegedly rolling through with a firearm and marijuana. And I'm sorry, but why, brother? Why? What kind of paranoia or recklessness gets you caught like this in a town where even jaywalking feels like a felony? And let's not sugarcoat this. Marijuana possession. Class B misdemeanor. Okay, not the end of the world. But the firearm charge? Class A misdemeanor with the possibility of a year in jail. And depending on the circumstances, priors, and how the prosecutor decides to play this, it could be escalated into something much more serious. And this is where the real suspense kicks in. Because if you're a Cowboys fan, you know how the NFL treats this team. You know how Roger Goodell's office seems to get itchy the moment a Dallas player's name hits a police report. Zeke got 6 games for an accusation, not a conviction. And here we are now, in a moment where the league has a reason, has a paper trail, has the mugshot. So what happens next? Do they step in and hand down a suspension before the legal process even finishes? Do they make an example out of Turpin to reassert their so-called discipline standards? And let's go deeper. What does this say about the culture in the building right now? Because while Mike McCarthy has been preaching leadership and accountability, and Brian Schottenheimer has been hyped as this fresh brain to rejuvenate the offense, this is the moment we find out if those words mean anything. Because when one of your offensive pieces gets arrested before training camp, you don't get to just nod and move on. You have to respond. And fans like us, we're watching every move, every statement, every silence. And if they act like it's nothing, that silence becomes deafening. And what really rattles me is the pattern, the history. Because Turpin's 2018 arrest for assault on a family member, that didn't disappear, that's still on the record. And while he pled guilty to a Class A misdemeanor back then and moved forward, you cannot ignore it when you're now stacking legal trouble on top of legal trouble. And sure, the Cowboys knew about that when they signed him. They knew his backstory. But now they have to ask themselves a chilling question. Was this a one-time mistake? Or is this a cycle re-emerging? And this isn't about judging a man for his past. It's about evaluating what happens when pressure, money, fame, and poor decisions collide in the life of someone with every opportunity to rise or fall. And Turpin, to his credit, clawed his way into the league after that 2018 arrest, balled out in the USFL, lit up training camp, and earned his way onto the 53. But one lapse in judgment like this can ruin everything, especially when you're a player who isn't untouchable, isn't a franchise QB, isn't a $100 million man, because trust me, the leash is shorter for guys like Turpin, even if his impact on special teams is massive, and the tragedy in this is how preventable it all feels. You got money now, you got access to resources, you can afford a driver, a handler, a legal consultant, whatever you need to keep you from being the one behind the wheel with a pistol and a gram of gas in a place like Allen. And still, here we are, reading arrest affidavits instead of camp projections. And as much as I hate to say it, this ain't just on Turpin. This is a team-wide moment of reckoning. Because if the leadership lets this slide without addressing it publicly or internally, the message to the rest of the roster becomes loud and clear. As long as you can run a 4.3, you can carry a 9 meters. And that's the kind of mindset that unravels a locker room from within. Not from a lack of talent, but from a lack of structure and Cowboys fans. We've seen this movie before, haven't we? We've watched talented rosters implode because off-field chaos swallowed their potential whole, and we thought those days were behind us. But now, a week out from camp, we're back here, holding our breath, waiting to see if this is just a blip, or a sign of things cracking underneath the surface, and then comes the legal side, the suspense of it. Because, as of now, no bond has been posted, no judge has ruled, Turpin is still in custody, and if this drags out into training camp, suddenly your entire offensive install starts to shift. Your special teams coach starts rechecking depth charts, and the entire narrative of the season starts off with a cloud of uncertainty. And that uncertainty is dangerous, it's distracting, it's contagious, and here's what makes it worse. This arrest was listed as on view, meaning it wasn't a warrant, it wasn't a setup, it wasn't someone calling the cops, it was something officers saw directly, meaning Turpin was essentially caught red-handed. And that's a legal detail that could carry weight in court, depending on how the firearm was stored, whether it was loaded, whether he was impaired, and if those answers come back unfavorably, he's in real trouble. And don't let the star fool you, don't let the paycheck fool you, because the Texas legal system doesn't always care if you're a cowboy. It cares what's on that report, and while I hope this ends quietly with fines, probation, or maybe a deferred judgment, you can't bank on it when a player has a prior, and the NFL is breathing down everyone's neck about optics. And if you're still wondering if this is overblown, remember this. The NFL once suspended a guy for deflating footballs.